Okay, we're jumping in here into the class about variables. So let's jump right in. Variables play a very important role in most programming languages, and Python is no exception. A variable allows you to store a value by assigning it to a name, which can be used to refer to the value later in the program. To assign a variable, use one equals sign. Unlike most lines of code we've looked at so far, it doesn't produce any output at the Python console. Okay, so x is our variable, and we're assigning the variable x to the number 7. So when we then print x, our print operation is looking at that variable x. It's coming back up here, grabbing where we assigned it and saying x equals 7, so we need to print 7, and that's the output that we get here. So if we do print x plus 3, same kind of thing happens. Our print operation, or our print function, method, whatever it's called, is going to go up and grab our variable x, see that it equals number 7, and insert number 7 here, add the number 3 to it, and print out the answer, which is 10. Okay, so that's easy enough to use. Continuing on, you can use variables to perform corresponding operations just as you did with numbers and strings. As you can see, the variable stores its value throughout the program. Okay, so that's what that's saying is you can continue to use it more than once. Once you've assigned it, you can call on it multiple times throughout the same program. Okay. What is the output of this code? Spam equals eggs, print spam times 3. Okay, so we're assigning spam is our variable here. We're assigning it to the value eggs as a string. So if we're printing spam times 3, we're not actually, it's not going to be spam, spam, spam. It should be eggs, eggs, eggs. That should be the answer that we get, I believe. Yep, okay. Variables can be reassigned as many times as you want in order to change their value. In Python, variables don't have specific types, so you can assign a string to a variable and later assign an integer to the same variable. Okay, x equals 123.456, print x. X equals, this is a string, print x plus exclamation point. This is a string. Okay, so that's just saying that you can reassign variables between different types. However, it is not good practice. Okay, so I guess you shouldn't do it even though you can. To avoid mistakes, try to avoid overriding the same variable with different data types. Drag the correct answer to make the code work correctly. X equals 5, y equals blank, print x plus y, and our answer is 12. So we see that x is 5. What plus 5 equals 12? It's going to be 7. We have to make sure that we get the integer and not the string so that we can do our operation correctly. Okay. Certain restrictions apply in regard to the characters that may be used in Python variable names. The only characters that are allowed are letters, numbers, and underscores. Also, they can't start with numbers. Not following these rules results in errors. Okay, that's simple enough. So that's just giving us restrictions as to what we can actually name variables. So this works because it just has letters and underscores. This doesn't work because it cannot start with a number. And I'll be honest, I'm not really sure what this is saying, but I guess you can't have spaces in a variable name. You have to use underscores. Okay, Python is a case-sensitive programming language, thus last name with a capital L and last name with a lowercase l are two different variable names in Python. Okay, that's good to remember. Which of these is a valid variable name in Python? It'd have to be this one. This one can't because it has spaces, and this one can't be because you can't have hyphens, so it's going to have to be this one. That's correct. Trying to reference a variable you haven't assigned to causes an error. You can use the del statement to remove a variable, which means the reference from the name to the value is deleted, and trying to use the variable causes an error. Deleted variables can be reassigned to later as normal. Okay, so if we have the variable foo and it equals a string, if we call upon foo, it prints out a string. And then if we have bar, if we call upon bar, it creates an error because we haven't assigned bar to anything yet. Now, if we delete foo and then try and call it again, we get that same error. So you can't call on, if you call on a variable that hasn't been assigned, it gives you an error. And it's also teaching us that you can delete what a variable is equal to, as we see here with the foo example. You can also take the value of the variable from the user input. Foo equals input, enter. Okay, so you can actually have the user input be assigned to a variable. That's good to know. Enter a number, 7, print foo, 7. Okay, now remember here, let's just come in here real quick. So if we run this, it's going to give us, so let's just use the example they gave us where the input was 7. It comes out as 7, but we have to remember that 7 is a string. That's not the number 7. If we want to make it a number, we either have to put int or float, and that is going to be what makes that input into an integer. So we see here it's the exact same output, but we can now use this later. So if we wanted to say print foo plus 2, if we run that, now it's going to give us 9. And that's because foo is 7 plus 2 is 9. If we take away that int and we try running it like that, keeping everything else the same, it shouldn't work because you can't add strings and integers. So just a quick reminder there. Okay. The variables foo and bar are called metasyntactic variables, meaning that they are used as placeholder names in example code to demonstrate something. Okay, so I guess they're just commonly used example variables. What is the output of this code? Spam equals 2, eggs equals 3. Delete spam. So remember, by deleting spam, we're taking away what it's assigned to. Eggs equals 4. Spam equals 5. Print spam times eggs. So I believe it should just be 20 because these are the two most recent assignments of these variables, eggs and spam, 4 and 5. It should just be 4 times 5. Perfect. Okay, so that was our class about variables. Hopefully we all learned something. We're going to jump into the next class soon, in place operators.